Did Fast and Furious single-handedly save the JDM car community? Let's talk about that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Trunk Talk. My name is Charlotte.
And I'm Gabi.
And today we are sitting in the back of a 2024 Kia Seltos X-Line in Valais Green.
So naturally, we're talking about JDM vehicles, the golden era. What happened to them? Are they coming back? And will there ever be affordable sports cars?
So you see the connection between the car we're sitting in? We don't.
Yeah, there's no connection.
Now, you're probably wondering, okay, you guys work for Kia and Hyundai. What qualifications do you have to talk about JDM vehicles? Well, let me tell you, I've watched every single Fast and Furious movie.
And I spent a lot of time playing Gran Turismo as a kid, so let's get talking.
If that doesn't qualify us, I don't know what does.
Can't really beat that.
But like what Gabi said, is we're really going to be digging into the golden era of JDM vehicles, what we saw in the past, and if they're really coming back, and if we're ever going to have that golden era again. So I'm going to start off really by talking about what we saw and why people loved JDM vehicles. But if you're unfamiliar with what that term means, it means a Japanese domestic market. So these vehicles, they were originally designed for people of Japan, and they found a lot of love in worldwide, depending on certain regulations and what vehicles could come in.
Mm-hmm. When we think of Japanese vehicles today, obviously I think of, you know, the big ones like the Toyota RAV4,
the volume sellers,
the Honda CR-V, the Honda Civic. And while there is, you know, sportier Civics, you get the SI, you get the Civic Type R, most people aren't buying those. The majority of the ones that are selling, you know, they're, I don't want to say boring, but there's nothing crazy about them. You know what I mean? Like, I could look at any parking lot and pick out 7 white Civics. It's not really a game. It's not hard.
It's not an eye-catching vehicle.
No, it's regular traffic, let's be honest. But that wasn't always the case. In the 90s, aka the golden era of JDM vehicles, people were tuning these cars, slamming them to the ground, racing them, just having so much fun with their cars. And they could do this because, number one, these vehicles, they were relatively cheap. So cheap and fun together, that's something we don't see today anymore.
Never.
No. And mind you, a lot of those vehicles are still on the road, but the price of them, not anything is what they used to be. And to buy a new one, also nothing like how it used to be. What else, Charlotte?
So why do people love these vehicles? Well, a lot of people, at least over here in North America, when they think of Japanese vehicles, they think of the very strong reputation behind Japanese engineering. And again, I think they do a great job in keeping, you know, affordable vehicles, less affordable now, but definitely more affordable in the 90s, with a low maintenance cost and strong reliability. Now, like Gabi said, is what we see today from them isn't necessarily fun, but these vehicles, they definitely had that fun aspect.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of that came down to the performance, is these vehicles, they were fast, they handled like a dream, they were drift monsters, and they were a ton of fun, but they also had a rockin' design appeal. So they were affordable, they were fun to drive, and they looked good too. So these vehicles are often characterized by a unique and eye-catching design, lots of sleek lines, aggressive body kits. They were very aerodynamic. They didn't look like your typical, you know, European sports car or your American muscle car, which is what we were seeing previously before these vehicles came about. Yep. But like what Gabi was talking about, is it got even better because you could customize your vehicle.
Tune it.
You could tune it.
Tune it.
I love that sound.
Tune it. Tune it.
The wheels are falling off on this one. But again, like, there were so many different aftermarket companies that were creating parts specifically for JDM vehicles for you to customize. So if you wanted more power, you could do it. If you wanted a bigger wing, you could do it. It didn't matter what it was. There was a part for it. And doing this also fostered a great sense of community. And this is where you see, you know, those types of you know, rally cars coming together, people coming together to show off their cars, to talk about their cars, to get inspiration about what they can do next, and just talk with other like-minded people. So not only did it have so many great things going for it as far as the vehicle, but it also had a whole culture surrounding it.
Yep.
So what's not to love about that? We still love car culture today, so long as it's not toxic.
We're looking at you, TikTok.
We're looking at you, TikTok.
But I think, okay, we mentioned Fast and Furious at the beginning of this. At the beginning of this episode, and I have Fast and Furious a huge part to thank for why I appreciate the JDM market, because growing up, the only cars I was surrounded with were domestics, because my dad and his cousins all had Mustangs, and they'd talk that, oh, we hate Camaros, we hate Corvettes, that kind of thing. That was the toxic car community I grew up in. But as soon as I watched Fast and Furious, more specifically Tokyo Drift, you better believe I was on my iPod 4 in elementary school, searching, browsing through FD RX-7s available for sale and Veilside Fortune body kits because I was convinced my first car was going to be an exact replica of Han's RX-7.
Yeah.
Because that's attainable. No, but that movie and that exact culture had a huge effect on people, and we still see that to this day. There are still a lot of people that are tuning their cars. Mind you,
it's a family.
Yeah, they're older cars now. Some of them may not have been greatly taken care of. They're harder to buy, so to find something that runs and is worth having, it's not as attainable anymore.
Absolutely, yeah.
But things are looking better. So there were some household names back in the 90s. I'm talking Supra, I'm talking the Nissan Z, I'm talking about the Mitsubishi Eclipse. More on that later. More on that later. But in recent years, I want to say the last 4 or 5 years, all those cars are coming back. Mind you, they're very different because, they meet modern regulations for emissions and safety standard protocol, and obviously they're much bigger, but they're coming back. So we have a new Supra. It's based off a BMW, mind you, but we have a new Supra.
So it's a BMW.
There's talk about a new MR2. There's talk about not an RX-7 or RX-8, but an RX-9 coming from Mazda. The Miata is still kicking around. And one thing I have to really thank you to Toyota and Subaru for keeping performance cars kind of on their mind in the early 2000s, or I guess late 2010s. They introduced the FRS BRZ in the 86. I believe it was sometime in 2013, so that's when it started. And it's now on its second generation. I don't know how much longer it'll last, but that is the only kind of modern, affordable sports car. I say sports and not super because these are supposed to be affordable. That I could think of that really stayed true. The Mazda was still around, but something different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they kind of held on to it. So they knew maybe it's coming back. And their current model lineup, so obviously now we have a new Z, we have the new Supra. What else do we have? Oh, the Type R is still around, and the Integra is around too. So we're seeing all those legends come back.
Which I think is great. Now, I think the part that's a little bit more disappointing is obviously they do come with a higher price tag for all those reasons that Gabi mentioned. Is number one, it's just more expensive to produce vehicles nowadays because a lot of them have to meet certain regulations, which of course adds to the cost.
Yes.
The price tag of it and everything like that. So
the performance is also greater now too.
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's almost hard seeing them go up in price, knowing that they're still kind of catered towards that same audience who may not necessarily have the funds to buy them, which, I don't know, it's kind of heartbreaking, but at the same time, maybe it's encouraging for people to be like, okay, I got to get it together, that way I can get this.
Yeah, and I want to say the argument that, the performance from them stock is higher now is, a lot of people don't take that well because they're like, I want built, not bought. Yeah. And that's fine. And that's what the peak of the 90s era cars were. They were so easily tunable mods, like, you could do anything to your cars really and not mess it up. I don't know. But you can really do anything to those cars, and a lot of people are more hesitant to do so on modern vehicles because, warranty is a big thing, emissions are a big thing, and all that extra safety stuff that goes into your car that you're worried about messing up, the tuning community is just not that big for these cars.
I think another part of it is a lot more of it now is computerized, and it's not necessarily straightforward mechanics.
Yeah.
It's all computerized.
You can't just hang out in the shop with your buddies and do something crazy to your car. It's more so
the backyard chop shop.
It's techie, And mind you, a lot of people are still doing it. A lot of people are still putting body kits on their car. I mean, rocket bunnies are still a thing, but it's different now. That's the key word. But I mean, it's nostalgic, right? People love the 90s era, the golden era of cars because it's nostalgic.
And nostalgia, when it comes to marketing, that is a huge driver of sales. A lot of people like that feeling of when they were a kid. Think of it, you were carefree, didn't have a lot of responsibilities. What I wouldn't give to go back to that time of my life. And sometimes people are really desperate to get a little bit of a piece of that. So don't underestimate the power that nostalgia can have on marketing too.
I mean, I've seen it firsthand. Like I said, as soon as I had a login for Kijiji, I was browsing cars, seeing Miatas go for $4,000, $5,000. That doesn't happen anymore unless it's like, a frame.
What would that same car that you were looking at then be worth today?
A lot more money. Yeah. Seriously, a lot more money. Supras used to be somewhat attainable, and now you cannot find a Mark IV Supra that is even
runs.
That's in my price range at least. Yeah, that runs at least. So it's interesting to see. So a lot of people are comparing how the new versions of the Supra, or whatever you may have, are not affordable, but neither are the old ones back then.
Yeah.
It's it's a sucky time to be a car enthusiast that's not ballin'. So,
Yeah.
and that's me, guys. I would love to have all these cars. Do I have the garage space? No. Do I have the funds?
No.
No. So I'm just going to enjoy it from afar. And we actually have a car wash right in front of our dealership, and a BRZ just pulled in.
I was watching it.
Speaking of keeping the Japanese sports cars alive.
Yes.
And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I kind of forgot everything we said in this podcast so far. But the BRZ, the 86, they're on their second generation now. So they're continuing on with it. It's not something that's dying out. And they may not be the fastest cars, but they're cars that are fun, light, rear-wheel drive, moddable. What more could you ask for?
Now, what do you think we're going to see in the future?
So future, this is where things get really strange, and this is where the car community gets a lot of hate. A lot of people, I want to say, don't understand EVs, or they just kind of give EVs a lot of hate for no reason. They never driven them. I will say, me and Charlotte had the opportunity recently to drive the Ioniq 5N, which is a 641 horsepower EV, and it is full track ready. I'm not joking. This vehicle is a rocket ship. I couldn't even think of anything I would do to it to even attempt to tune it any better. It is phenomenal from factory. So truly a purist's car, I should say.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, an absolute weapon that vehicle is. So much fun to drive. I've never been that excited about a car in a really, really long time. So obviously EVs are the future. You may argue EVs are expensive. So are Japanese sports cars in today's culture. A new Supra is expensive, guys. It's not cheap. But we know that EVs certainly have a higher market sticker tag, I should say, and that's going to come down. EVs are still relatively new technology. What else can we expect? Well, Hyundai's released, or not released, teased the N74. So the Envision.
Yep. So
that's
if you
a
guys
wicked car.
aren't familiar with that, that's a modern take basically on the Pony Coupe. It looks great, or if a vehicle that you're probably more familiar with, the DeLorean. That was also modeled off of the Pony Coupe. Now, if you
future nostalgia is real.
Yeah, future nostalgia is real. If you guys are listening to this podcast, or if you're watching this video and you're like, oh my goodness, they tricked us. They said they were going to talk about JDM vehicles, and here they are talking about EVs. I just want to, first of all, don't click off. Oh, I'm begging you. But also encourage you that if you are, if you hate on EVs, number one is at least try to drive one, at least try to do some research. They can be fun. They definitely are fun, especially in the case of the Ioniq 5N. And also, if you're like, oh yeah, like I drink diesel for breakfast, I love gasoline, I inject it into my veins. Don't do that, first of all. But if that is your mindset towards vehicles, that's fine, that's fun, but don't limit yourself to just that. Why not enjoy vehicles of every capacity? Because vehicles are so much fun, guys. Don't limit yourself. Why not give yourself more avenues to enjoy too? So don't hate on them just yet. I encourage you to try it. If you don't like it, that's totally fine.
Do you think before cars were a thing and people were still riding horses, they were like, oh, that was the golden era of horses?
Yeah.
do you think that was a thing?
Is that how you feel right now?
No.
Running your horse?
No.
Girl.
Oh yeah, guys, if you didn't know, so me and Charlotte always talk about the importance to try new things. I tried a new kind of horsepower, 4-legged. Yeah, he almost bucked me off yesterday. Don't recommend. So cars were definitely the right way to go.
Mine's 2 wheels. I bought a motorcycle.
Yeehaw. Yeehaw. Let us know if you guys want a walkthrough of either of our new rides.
Our new rides, yeah. Horse tour coming soon. On that note, what are some other tech advancements that we think we're going to be seeing for cars?
Oh, hydrogen fuel cell. I think I said that. I would love a hydrogen fuel cell sports car, I should say. Toyota's put a lot of time, energy, and money into researching them as well too. So of course nothing official yet, and hydrogen fuel cell is going to be a new technology. It's not going to be cheap, but once things start to settle, I could see that being our next peak car community.
Yeah. I think that would be really cool. And again, if you're not looking forward to this new technology, whether it be, EVs, whether it be hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, or any really alternative fuel vehicle, think of, how much fun it was on the cusp and at the beginning of the JDM vehicle movement, and why can't we have that again? Even though it is a different vehicle, a different concept, a different powertrain.
Yep.
I think that we definitely can. You just have to choose to be a good sport about it.
There you go. You gotta try new things. All right, that's probably going to sum up today's episode of Trunk Talk.
What's your favorite JDM?
My favorite JDM
what would
vehicle?
You take? Yeah.
Well, I've always had a soft spot for the RX-7.
That's what I was going to say!
Yeah, an FD RX-7, Veilside Fortune body kit. You guys already know. However, I'm impartial to the Rocket Bunny kit as well, too. I love those cars. Wicked. Seriously wicked. Yeah. I love a Dorito engine. Also, I used to be a big... Oh, we didn't talk about Mitsubishi. So, remember when I said Mitsubishi Eclipse? It's an SUV now.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah,
just kidding.
That's rough. All right, guys. Thanks for watching or listening. Don't forget to like and rate this podcast, and stay tuned for next week's, where the topic will be released next week.
Next week.
Sunday, 9 a.m. on all your podcast places.
On that note, thanks so much for watching or listening. We will see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.